Oh, how did you like the Tales of Arise Switch 2?
It was good. I was surprised. Yeah. It was nice.
Yeah. I don't know what the big hubbub about.
The big hubbub is mostly they're upset it's not 60 frames per second.
Oh my God. It's on the Switch, for God's sake. I don't ever expect
they always just people complain, you know? They like to complain.
Yeah.
They want to feel like jocks. They want to feel like the jocks because the jocks care about frames per second when they're playing their Call of Duty and their John Madden football. Got to have them 60 frames. Otherwise, it's a baby game for babies. But nice. I'll go see Obsession, and it looks scary. Yeah. And I love Curry Barker as a guy and as a director.
I love his. If no one's checked out his skit comedy, they're just like so funny. Like he is such a deadpan, like kind of like a Tim Robinson style, but like a little bit more unhinged. I think
a little more unhinged. Yeah.
He's so funny. I love him.
So if you want this recommendation to make it into the episode, you're gonna have to say something extremely funny right now to cap this off. Just go funny.
Hey.
I don't think that beats John Madden's of the world. Sorry.
Hey there, welcome to the JRPG Pursuit, your JRPG podcast for all things JRPGs. I'm Brandon.
I'm Abdallah.
And I'm Emily.
And today, we're going to be talking about one of, if not possibly, my favorite developers, publishers, etc., and that is Nihon Falcom. Nihon Falcom. They are, I think it's not hyperbole to say that they're like the pioneers, basically, of the JRPG genre. I think for a lot of people that have maybe gotten into JRPGs a little bit later or who have kind of, played around on the shore and haven't dove in deep, see them as kind of a niche sort of out there developer that's maybe doing things that aren't catching their attention, but they, truly have been around from the beginning. They're older than me, and that says something. That's crazy.
Says a lot.
That says so freaking much. The idea that there's a game developer still making games that's older than me. That shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, but it is. So, why don't we just real quickly to kick this off, talk about our personal history with Falcom, and then we can talk a little bit about the company's history and kind of go from there. So,
why Emily, we think they're still underrated,
why we think they're relevant, and why we think they're underrated, and why people need to pay more attention to them. So, Emily, why don't you tell us a little bit about your history with Falcom?
Well, my history with Falcom, I think, like many of us, started with Trails. No surprise there. But yeah, when I was just trying to research, what are some cool handheld RPGs out there, because I just got my PS Vita and was like a newly revived kind of gaming scene for me. I was looking for something that was more narrative and story focused and had some interesting combat. And Trails in the Sky, FC, SC, the Evo versions, to be clear, for the Vita, were the ones that caught my attention. And from there, just snowballed into the World of Trails. And then I have since dove a bit into E's, mostly modern E's. So we're talking like 8 and above. Though Celceta, or Memories of Celceta, it's probably the oldest one I've played.
Oh, I didn't know you played that one. Okay.
That was my first E's game on the PS4.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay. We talked about that in the E's episode, which we do have one, by the way.
We do have an E's episode.
Yes, we do.
We apparently blocked it from my memory. I don't know.
It's okay. We talk about a lot.
No, we had Corey. We had Corey on there.
We did have Corey from My Life in Gaming on that episode. It was a good one, I think it was. I don't remember anything like I just said. Sorry.
It's okay. You gotta save some hard drive space. So sometimes you gotta let something slip.
We're running low. I gotta empty the recycle bin.
Exactly. Strategically. Don't have too much amnesia there. But I've since then trying to play more. Tokyo Xanadu is on my, I think, plate next, because I want to, get prepared for whenever Kyoto Xanadu comes out here in the West. And also maybe try checking out some other lesser known, like non-RPG titles, which we maybe could get into later. But yeah, I probably maybe the briefest history with Falcom, but it has been here to stay.
What about you?
All right. So if I were to look back at where I first got in, well, because like I played games, or probably played some other games without knowing them really as a developer.
That's a safe bet. I know I did too, but yeah.
Because like technically my first Falcom game was Xanadu on the NES. So like that was I owned that game and I enjoyed that game, playing that game as a kid. But I didn't know at the time what I was playing, or how big of an impact Falcom was going to make on my life later on down the line. But that's where it kind of like got started with things. And then I drifted in and out. I did try like some ease games initially. Like I never owned one, but I had a friend who had like the SNES one, and I tried a little bit of that. But I never, for some reason, just never played a lot of it until much later. I think my first like true playing like a full ease game was maybe 8 actually. And then I kind of went backwards, or maybe was it 8, or maybe Origin 1 and 2, like later on down the line. But I think from Falcom, like I didn't start getting into Trails until, how many years has it been now? Probably pre-COVID now. Like it was like when I initially started playing them, and it took me like I started up. I know before that I started it up with Trails in the Sky, and then I like jumped off a bit, and then I came back, and then I was like, why haven't I played this? And for some reason,
mostly because of the weird, history with localization.
Yeah, exactly. And then I got obsessed from there. But honestly, yeah, from a Falcom perspective, I didn't play a lot of the older games. I always later on, like in the PS2 era and stuff like that, I knew they existed, and I knew like that's when I started learning about Falcom more. But I didn't really I didn't know anyone who was playing them, and I just never picked them up for the PS2 or anything like that. Or
they're not talked about as much, right?
Exactly. And I didn't own a TurboGrafx, which a lot of Falcom games kind of got a lot of representation on TurboGrafx.
Out here in the West,
Out here in the West especially. So I just never had one growing up, and I didn't know many people who had one. So it just never struck me on the way. But yeah, I think, once I got, the last like 8 to 9 years, really started playing more of the Falcom games, and it's been nonstop since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in a similar boat. I played Xanadu, which I thought was pronounced Faxanadu, and you'd be forgiven for thinking that. Yeah. Why would you think otherwise? Yeah. But Xanadu on the original Nintendo, if you don't want to consider that one, if you don't want to count that one, it's actually probably okay, because from my understanding, it was originally intended to be basically a port of Xanadu to the Famicom, but Hudson actually took it and just kind of like sort of made a new game out of it. It's like it's not very connected to the original Xanadu. So if you wanted to be like, if you didn't want to have that large gap in your resume, you could be forgiven for putting that to the side. But I'll say like it counts. It counts. It was based on a Falcom property. So yeah, for Xanadu. And every other Falcom game that I was aware of as a kid and as a teenager, I thought like, oh, that looks cool. It sounds cool. But it's on what now? It's on, the Turbo, what? I never knew a human being that owned a TurboGrafx 16 or a C, that was just not, what? Who? Why? How? I feel like I hear other people tell stories of being in school, and there's like the one weird rich kid that has the TurboGrafx CD and the Sega CD and all that stuff. I don't know if we're just in such an impoverished community, but nobody that I knew, nobody had that stuff. If they did, they didn't talk about it, and that makes me think they didn't have it, because kids brag about weird stuff.
Exactly. I would have known.
It would have come up, right?
Exactly.
In conversation. So yeah, I was tangentially aware of all these Falcom games, didn't know who Falcom was. I'm sure I ran across the name, but it didn't stick with me. And it really wasn't until, I want to say 2015, 2016, that I first played Trails in the Sky FC, back when it was the only one, right? It was on the PSP. I played it on the Vita, but
you're just a few years older than me, or Trails timeline there. I think I started in 2018.
Got to differentiate in Trails timeline because I'm like 100 years older than you in real timeline.
It's not true.
But
I think we're all getting up there in years.
He's an ancient dragon in human form, guys.
He's ancient dragon.
Some anime
explains the horde behind him.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly, that's true. The Smaug of Falcom.
Yep. Where was I? I don't even know. What was I saying? So
you started 2016 next team.
Got into Trails around that time. A little while before Trails in the Sky SC came out. There was a delay before that game came out. So, fell in love with it and just absolutely devoured the series as quickly as I could because I was, playing them as they came out in the West. So I couldn't just like back to back play them. But I was
dabbled in some fan translations and all that.
I did eventually go back and dabble in the Crossbell fan translations, or they were the rough, unedited,
the rough ones
translations before
Geofront and all that
got their hands on them. So it was rough, but I was committed. I was like, I need to. This is my thing now. I've made this my entire personality. So
I'm proud of you for that.
I just made it my personality.
It's just your personality.
It's just me at home. It's just me at home. My wife didn't care. It was just me at home. Like, why am I doing this? So yeah, I was very into it, and I started with Legend of Heroes 6. That feels like the purist would be like, what are you doing, man? Legends of Heroes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got to play all of them. If you don't play all of them, you're missing out. You're missing out.
Are you a real fan if you haven't?
You're not a real fan. That's a fact. So, so that was kind of the start of it. And then I decided maybe 5 years ago, that I was going to get into the East games because I was like, I really like Trails. This is their, Falcom's other really big series. I should probably play.
It's slightly more known, like on YouTube, people are talking about Ease 8 and some of the other ones.
Yeah.
It's definitely the famous child of Falcom.
Oh,
and
maybe tides are changing.
I think they're changing. I think things are shifting, but at the time still, it was like pretty, because we hadn't gotten the flood of Trails localizations that we've gotten over the last several years.
It's been very recent.
It was we get them sporadically, and we were several entries behind Japan. But anyway, so I went back and I played all of the East games basically in order. I played 1 and 2, and then I played Origin because it's better to play Origin after 1 and 2. And then I played them sequentially from there.
You played
including
the 4 ones back to back?
I didn't play all of the versions of 4. I just played the remake on PS4, Memories of Celceta. So I played at least a version of all of them. I tried to play East 5 on Super Famicom.
Ooh.
And it was
brutal.
I didn't care for it, guys. It's bad.
Yeah.
It was a bad game. I hope they remake it and recanonize it into the story, because I'm sure there's some good stuff in there, but I didn't like the game. I thought it was garbage. Trash game.
Yep.
Sorry to everybody who likes it. I don't think you're garbage trash. I just think that game is. So then I played through all the East games, got caught up, and that was just before East 9 came out. So I was like ready to go for East 9.
Yes.
And and then it's been Falcom. It's been all day, every day Falcom for me since then.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, like, it's obviously a pretty big company, has an outsized presence in our lives, despite us not really finding them until we were, well into adulthood, right?
Yeah.
We discovered this company as little kids and have been following them ever since. It was really kind of as adults we stumbled into this, and I think that actually makes more sense to me that it would happen that way. Falcom feels much more like a grown-up taste. It's like, what do I want to call it? It's like garlic. When I was a kid, I hated garlic. I was like, that's disgusting. Why are you?
Are you a vampire?
I think
Like,
so. That's why he looks like he looks at his age.
That's true.
You're an ancient dinosaur vampire.
An ancient dinosaur vampire.
We've established that on this episode.
Right here, everybody.
There it is.
Now you know.
If you want to make fan art, you go.
You know what to do. You gotta draw the fangs, though, please.
That's your homework for the next
I prefer
week.
to have a long neck. If you could give me a long, slender neck, that'd be preferable. Thank you.
A long slender. A giraffe.
What was I saying? Oh, I didn't like garlic, and I was like, why? My parents would eat garlic with everything. I was like, that's gross. Now, as an adult, I'm like, I get it.
Give me all the roasted garlic.
I love it. I love it so much. And I just feel like that with the Falcom games, even though, you know, you could argue there's like juvenile things. They have some that they throw in there, but there's something about the way they tell stories and the way they structure their gameplay that just feels more of like an acquired grown-up taste than something that I would have gotten into as a kid, if that makes sense.
I think part of it is you have to kind of stay for the long haul, and it's not as like prone to, little distractions that you could get. So it's not like they're feeding like sensory overload all the time.
Yeah. And I feel like the version of Falcom we grew up with, like the ones that we we would have stumbled upon were more adult oriented as like then, because they were like challenging games like Ease or very like RPG focused, but also very much stuck in Japan. So very few things came our way. So like as kids, they were even further niche. Like, Falcom's already still niche within this day and age. Like the amount of nicheness it was at the time was intense. Cause like you'd have to have like very specific type of hardware, and have a specific way of learning about these kind of games that were coming out. So,
and just the localization history, right? I think that kind of just slowed it down from us consuming it because of that barrier of entry.
Exactly. And so it wasn't until like much later on in life where, we started to see things get localized a bit more. And that's why
do some more like fan exploits to have access. Yeah. Like I played the Vita version, for example, of the Evo.
Exactly.
Vita Sky Games.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have figured that out as a kid necessarily.
No, I dabbled in emulators as a kid, and that was about the best I could do. I was not adept at
soft modding your stuff to play.
Well, they didn't have soft modding when I was a kid.
That's true. They didn't really have that.
Like I could patch a translation patch onto a ROM.
Yeah.
That was the extent of it. And even then, it took me a long time to figure out how to do it each time. So, getting into their games as kids, I wouldn't have been feasible for us. It just wouldn't have been. But it kind of makes me wonder, and I don't know this. I'm sure there are documentarians out there that have covered Falcom on YouTube. So I almost hesitate to like dive into the history of Falcom.
Yeah, there's someone better.
And I don't know, So you're not going to get like the best information.
We're not scholars.
We're not scholars on this subject, but we're appreciators, and so I would say they started in the early 80s. I think it was 81.
I think so.
When they were formed. And didn't they begin as a like computer shop?
Yep.
Is that your understanding?
It was basically a computer shop that then they would make these like at the time, because like that was kind of like the computer culture back then, is like they would make games and just put it on a random floppy or whatever it is and just sell it with like the writing on there. And like back in the day, like there was no like production like they weren't actually producing and marketing things. It would just like be somebody out of their basement making a game and then selling it at their local like computer shop. And so like that's that's how it started. It's like they were just making these games and selling it in their computer shop. And that's where like locally in Japan started to get to take off a little bit. But it was very like
more
within
production value of I think I even have this Sky, CD-ROMs that were in those little chunky things.
Yeah. But that was like back in the PC 88 days.
Yeah. Which
I've
started falling down the PC 88 rabbit hole, like watching Basement Brothers.
Basement Brothers is great. Yeah.
Like I'm reviewing all these PC 88 and PC 98 games, and I'm like, I want those. I don't want to play them. I'm not going to get a PC 88. That's not going to happen. I know that's not going to happen.
It's very expensive and
it's
a lot of work.
And like it's so old. Like it's not going to work. Yeah. Chances are it's going to be broken. But like I look at the boxes that the games came in, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
I
That's so
know.
nice. Like what a time. You know, the
Yeah.
games themselves are on these super floppy old school
Yep.
discs, but like the packaging, everything came in and all the stuff they came with. Very cool. Very cool.
And there's something about like the sound card for the PC-88, like the old Falcom games on the PC-88 just sounded kind of like it had its own like distinct sound that was nice. I liked it. I like the way I like those games.
Yeah, they are cool, but much cooler, I think, to watch on YouTube than to
Yeah.
actually play. Like I watched somebody, you know, playing Sorcerian, and I'm like, that's cool, man. I absolutely would hate to play this game. Sorcerian, famous Falcom game. But yeah, I wouldn't want to play it, but it's very cool.
But luckily, if you do want to play it, there are opportunities without having to get the hardware.
Yeah, for sure.
There are
It's been
Mr.
ported
Core.
well, that, and it's been ported to everything. It's on the
yeah.
Genesis, like
It's on the Genesis.
Yeah. Well, on the Mega Drive, never came out over here, of course.
That's true. Yeah.
But yeah, so they, from their humble beginnings, they have continued on into sort of still a humble present, where you know they've never blown up in the way that like a Squaresoft did, or an Enix, or a Capcom or a Konami, right? They've always maintained a pretty relatively small team, and you know, because so much of their output was focused on like the Japanese PC market, I think they just didn't have the opportunity to
expand.
grow to the to the level that they would have if they had been worldwide distributors of their games. I know they had, you know, deals occasionally with like Bruderbund to bring some of their games over to the NES. That's how we got Legacy of the Wizard. And they didn't do Fazanadu, but like, you know, there was some
Nintendo, I think, brought that over.
Yeah, that's right. So, you know, so they had some partners, and they would do that occasionally with the consoles that were popular over here. But, you know, they didn't really push.
They were like
and
PC focused.
They were. So
they
PC
knew,
focused.
I think, their realm, and they didn't try to overexpand themselves. I think at that time, they just they had the whole kind of slow growth pipeline, I think, envisioned.
Yeah.
And that's why they ended up on, you know, like the TurboGrafx and whatnot, because that's like NEC was like the PC who made also the chips for the PC 88. Those were based off of that. So like it just kind of translated over, and that's why they kind of focused on those from a console perspective, which didn't really work here.
And they had, you know, like I said, they had partners that would port games to other things, but it's like I don't think they ever caught on as well as, you know, their core market being in that NEC ecosystem, more or less.
Yep.
So, they went on to, of course, create Ys and the Dragon Slayer franchise and Xanadu, and you know the Dragon Slayer. How does this work? So, the Legend of Heroes was like a subtitle for a while that they would stick on
everything
to games. So the first Legend of Heroes is Dragon Slayer, or you could say the first Dragon Slayer is Legend of Heroes. That's odd, right? But then isn't there a Xanadu game that's also subtitled Legend of Heroes, or am I misremembering that?
You know what? I can't remember.
We're going to fact check this real quick.
I think we probably should fact check that one. I want to say no, but I have not looked into the deep archives.
Xanadu is Dragon.
Was a Dragon Slayer. Too.
Okay,
so
a sub within sub.
Slayer, so Dragon Slayer 1 was Legend of Heroes. Dragon Slayer 2 was Xanadu, and they sort of
merged,
split,
and
to become their own separate series. Like so, you know, from these kind of humble beginnings on very old computers, somehow these series, you know, Dragon Slayer has been dormant for a long time, although I think it's coming back.
Teased. They're coming up. I'm bringing it back.
They've teased it. Yeah. I'm excited to see what they do with that. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's a lot.
What would a Dragon Slayer game be this day and age? Maybe we could do some theory crafting at the end of what we think the future will be. But just a tease, though, to think about. Yeah.
And my experience with Dragon Slayer is just watching, like I've seen footage. I played a little bit of the Game Boy version that never came out over here. I played it on emulator, and I was like, I don't like this. I don't understand this at all. But yeah. So anything else that you all want to say on like the history of where they came from?
So we kind of
History-wise,
touched base.
no.
Yeah. Or did you want to say something?
Oh, no. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we kind of, I think, touched on their foundation, right? Of the PC and kind of how they're a bit of the underground scene and then kind of emerged into a more formal company that had a wider distribution net within Japan. And then how they kind of slowly in the pipeline trickled out things out in the West. And really Ease, I wouldn't say, is kind of what made them stand out more in Japan, right? Like that was they're kind of, to this day, like Adol Christensen is like iconic in Falcom. And really it wasn't until I think maybe out in the West, Trails has become more of the prominent sort of franchise that has been, I guess, the darling that they've kind of focused in on. And not only, continued to make subsequent arcs and new games for, but also gone back to totally remake them. Like we've had some remaster projects for Ease, and we'll see what happens in the future for some of their older titles. But there hasn't been as much, I think, level of care of trying to establish more of an audience with an existing IP than maybe Trails has been in recent years.
Yeah,
and Ease as well.
They seem to have themselves, I think, fallen
favorites.
in love with Legend of Heroes as their primary, and there's still obviously a lot of affection for East. You can tell.
You can't
they put
separate that
into the East games that they make, but they've only made 10 mainline East games. And they're up to 18? Is that what Beyond the Horizon was for Trails? Legend of Heroes, like 18 or 19?
Include some of the. Are you including non-Trails of Legend Heroes?
If Trails, Trails in the Sky FC is Legend of Heroes 6. So if you go,
we're adding those.
If you're
adding that, then yes.
So they are really kind of like falling down hard on this is our baby, right?
If you look at their new 45th anniversary art, you have Adel there from his Ease 10 look. You have Estelle from her new Sky First Chapter remake look. And then I think the third pillar they're really trying to establish in the company is the Tokyo, Kyoto, Xanadu sort of stuff. So
bringing back the Xanadu series.
Bring back Xanadu as like their third pillar.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious at how that will kind of continue to go with them.
Yeah. Well, it depends on how Kyoto Xanadu performs as a game. Whether if
I must say Tokyo Xanadu, we could get more into Tokyo Xanadu. Adele and I have not played it yet, but plan to. But Brandon has played it. But from my understanding, Tokyo Xanadu kind of didn't meet expectations, but they've been teasing, a sequel for the longest time, and just this year revealed that Kyoto Xanadu is going to be a thing and coming out in Japan this July. So I think they're really trying to, diversify their IPs more and become more of a solid kind of JRPG company, not just known for Trails and Ease.
And if they resurrect Dragon Slayer as well, then they have potentially 4 franchises, unless they're planning on incorporating.
They're trying to make that in Trails, right?
Maybe, yeah.
Or I guess
they also know that they're winding down on the whole Trails timeline, so I think they're preparing for whenever next Trails steps. Does end. How can they just keep continuing making?
Are they going to do spin-offs for Trails?
Maybe.
Is there going to be a part 2 franchise that will be a bit longer? But you could start there.
Are they going to replace Trails with another turn-based, even if it has hybrid action combat, like a turn-based series, right? Because otherwise, with Xanadu and East, it's all action RPG.
Action.
And I feel like they've always had, almost always, like they started out with more of the bump combat kind of thing back in the old days, but they've pretty much always had a strong presence in turn-based RPGs,
Yeah.
and are honestly among the founders of the style, right? Like,
Yeah.
And one of the
can't be
best
overstated.
versions of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think I would just the best turn-based combat is from them, and that's like their unfair advantage in business parlance is that they have been around for so long and they are structured so well that they know what they're doing. They're so good at it. They've been there for the entirety of the history of the genre and helped create it. So
though they've done they started right with in action and the bump stuff. Like they've really, I think, set their foothold in turn-based, and they probably are seeing, with the success of so many other modern turn-based games from, other developers, like they're not going to abandon it.
No, I
they better not.
I don't think so, and I really hope not.
Yeah.
Because they're very good at it.
Yeah, I think there was some kind of fear when they started introducing the hybrid system in Trails with the action and turn-based, but really, like most of the combat is still turn-based in the hybrid system.
The
boss fights are.
The most important combat is still turn-based, and you can play the whole game turn-based too. I feel like I've seen people comment on videos and be like, I'm not going to play it because I don't like the action. It's like, bro, you don't have to use it.
You don't have to.
Run up to an enemy and hit the button and you're in turn-based, baby. Like,
exactly.
do it.
Like you don't have necessarily some of the perks of studying them before you go into turn-based, but whatever, you don't have to do that.
It's fine.
But you're a pro gamer. You don't need that anyway. You don't need
that.
Exactly.
It's basically your nightmare mode without going nightmare mode.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, not quite, but.
And it's something that I think a lot of people has wanted ever since, especially with Final Fantasy VII Remake. When the remake came out, everyone was like, when they were trying to promote this whole idea of there is a turn-based hybrid in there, but it's easy mode and kind of plays its own self. So people are a little disappointed with that.
Or you could stop the time and then just select your move if you wanted on the fly.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people at that time were thinking maybe we'll get two distinct things. And so when Falcom was like, hey, no, we're going to do that for Trails, everyone, I felt to me, I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh, okay, this is exactly how I envisioned this.
Honestly, they don't get their due course for inventing hybrid systems to the level really it is right now.
I will be perfectly honest. I was so skeptical when I learned about it. I was so skeptical. I was like, I don't think this is going to be good, and I'm really worried about the series
because it's so different, right?
It's so different, but it just it blew me away. It's it's my preference in all games now.
Exactly.
Honestly, same, but also I think before it was introduced, right, there was no major changes in JRPG combat. There was nothing so novel, right? And so just fusing together those two distinct styles just made sense and turned out to be genius, in my opinion.
Yeah. I love that they did it.
Indeed.
So that is one reason why we think Falcom is underrated, because they don't really necessarily get credited enough for the hybrid system. I think even when Trails in the Sky First Chapter, made waves as the remake last year, I don't think enough people gave it enough credit for the combat system. There's some people said, oh, the combat's cool, but they didn't really say, oh, this is so different. This is so fun,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder if some of it is because Metaphor came out and was a bigger,
technically
higher profile
first
title. Yeah, they
in the West. Yeah.
In the West, right? They came out and that was a Sega Atlas game, and people.
I just didn't feel that was super hybrid to me. You just whacked
It wasn't.
them.
No, it wasn't. It was
I was gonna say
light. It was hybrid light. But just the fact that was a thing over
that was
here,
highlighted so much as Metaphor. That's true.
Yeah. Maybe that just got people thinking, oh, it's been done before, and maybe they will acknowledge, it's better in Trails for sure, but they're iterating on what was done. It's
technically
Daybreak, Trails of Daybreak came out before Metaphor, and then people will be like, Metaphor was in development for 10 years, and it's bro, it was not. It was not in development for 10 years. It was in development for maybe three. They had some sketches 10 years ago, and they're like, we're making a fantasy game, and that's not in development. I'm sorry, it's not. That game would have cost them $1 billion if it was in development. If it was
10 years, really.
Yes.
There's no way.
Way too much.
Anyway,
it's hard. It's hard to for anyone who hasn't experienced both Metaphor and Daybreak or First Chapter remake. You won't really know the difference off of like how it's described.
Or even seeing some gameplay
promoted.
footage. Like it
Yeah,
kind of
it's
just looks
really
like you're
hard to say.
whacking things and then go into it. But you really do get the feel when you're playing it,
Exactly.
how different it is. And how like it's a different, I think, approach to gaming that we're going to see more of, honestly. I think we're going to just see a lot more hybrid systems because it's just so fun.
It's fun, and it honestly solves a problem that a lot of games have been trying to solve for a long time, which is like grinding in a dungeon. You know, I want to move on, but I keep getting into random battles, or I keep having to fight. You know, it's solving a massive problem that games have been trying to solve for a long time, and it does it really eloquently. So,
I agree.
One other aspect of Falcom, and I think it sort of in a roundabout way speaks to why they're underrated, is they are kind of the developer's developer. They are the company, they are the game makers that the other game makers look up to and respect. They're the kind of, but they're still kind of underground in a lot of ways. In comparison to a lot of other, so you know, you get like huge names that have come out of there that have gone on and have been with companies that are bigger and have made bigger games or whatever, like Yuzo Koshiro or why am I blanking on the director of Your Name?
Makoto
Shinkai.
Shinkai, yes.
You know, coming out of
I think even Takahashi did some stuff.
Some connection with them.
Some connection with them.
So
from
like,
from Monolith Soft.
So they're like almost like an incubator for creating game developers that go on to like be the best
of other creative works,
right? Yeah. Like outside of Falcom, they continue to grow. They're making these fantastic things, but they're like most appreciated, I think, by people that are in the know, that like, you know, that understand a little bit more about game development, and they're respected because of how they do what they do. It's like what the thing that makes me think of, and I know this is going to sound a little pretentious, and I'm okay with it. Back when I used to work at Barnes and Noble bookstore.
It's noble of you.
Yeah, thank you. And they would play music, you know, over the speakers in the store, and there would be like a rotation of CDs that were new that we would be playing. And one of the CDs when I worked there that we were playing was I forget the name of it now, but it was like the soundtrack to the book series, A Series of Unfortunate Events. Are you familiar with those books?
Yeah. Let me snick it.
Let me snick it. So the guy behind the magnetic fields wrote a song for each book in that series.
I didn't know that.
And they were like so cool. Like I had that album, I listened to it. Emily just exploded. That was so abrupt.
She really hates the magnetic fields.
I didn't mean to.
You offended her?
I didn't mean to offend. I didn't know.
And she was just like, I'm a peace out, guys. I'm done.
Deuces. Boom.
Bye.
I'm back.
Oh, I forgot. Hey, Emily's back. She
back.
She went on a short-lived vacation.
Yeah. We were afraid
troubleshooting.
You just really hated the magnetic
She fell
fields,
into the back
like,
rooms.
Forget it. We're out.
Yeah.
So from the magnetic fields, I can't think of his name right now, but the guy behind that was the guy who wrote these songs. And it was so interesting to see the dichotomy of the staff at Barnes and Noble who liked this music and who just hated it, was like so disinterested or just actively hated it. All of the people who were musicians who like wrote and played music loved it. They were like, we were all like, this is the best stuff that we've ever played on this overhead system in Barnes and Noble. And everybody who didn't make music hated it. And like, that's the sort of thing that sometimes I feel like with Falcom, they are so, I don't know, like they're so respected by the people in the games industry who have either worked with them or just like respect what they've done in their longevity and their design ethos and everything. And they have a harder time catching on with the broader public that doesn't have that sensibility or whatever. So
Yeah.
that's something that, and maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe they are more broadly popular in Japan. I don't know. I just feel like they've really started
Do you have
to
a lot
take
of merch?
off. They do certainly have a lot of merch.
I do.
Catering to certain audiences that are
I've
strange in
asked
some cases.
random store people if they know think if they have Kaseki, like, oh, not here, or like they know what I was talking about. But they're like, oh, we don't have it. Sadly.
No.
I think it's well known within Japan. I mean, it's also maybe it's probably less of a niche in Japan, but it's still probably
It's
a
definitely
niche
less nichey.
Yeah, it's a niche, but not
as
not
big
full
as me.
blown.
Yeah,
But like, they've started to now get bigger. Like they've seen enormous sales due to like the Western release of some of their games. And I hope that they're able to invest that money and that newfound attention in good ways, and that it doesn't kind of ruin it, right? Like there's that risk that
there's always a risk of expanding. They have grown their team. I want to say by like a third the past couple of years.
Yeah, they went from 69 to like 100 and something, 107.
Yeah.
So they have grown substantially. I am curious how their teams are allocated, and how much outsourcing they do still. Because I used to do quite a bit of outsourcing.
Yeah. A lot of the East games in the middle of the series, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6. I don't know if they did 6 in-house. But remember. Yeah, they like farmed those out for a long time. They were outside developers. That's how you end up with like 2 different versions of East 4.
Yeah.
That's true. But even like within internal projects, I think they still do have outsourcing kind of like assets done and stuff like that.
I'm sure it's game development is such a massive monster of a undertaking that you almost have to at the scale that they're making games.
Though one interesting thing that I think is also unique to Falcom is they have their own in-house like music. Like they have the JDK band. You can't really say that about a lot of other development companies, that they just have a one in-house studio who makes amazing music for everything.
Yeah. They're extremely talented. They definitely have a house style. Like if you play a song, you can tell if it's
a signature for sure.
Falcom JDK. I remember Emily, when we were in LA one time, we went to some restaurant and there was some music playing, and I think we were both like, "This sounds like Falcom." I don't think it was, but like it definitely had that distinct sort of style to it.
It did.
Wonder what song it was.
Yeah,
I don't know. But so they have their own kind of in-house band. Most other publishers nowadays, Square Enix, like they used to have in-house people, but now they are, Yoko Shimomura will come in and do a soundtrack, and Yasunori Mitsuda will come in. I don't know if like Yasunori Nishiki, is he an employee of Square? I wonder.
I'm not sure.
Regardless, they definitely don't have musicians at the scale that Falcom does, right?
One dedicated,
like outlet. A dedicated team and a dedicated like band that plays the music too. And I don't necessarily,
they do concerts.
I don't know if they're all the same people that make the music, or if they have like some that are just in the band that just play the music. But they have like a dedicated band that does concerts for their.
They do have rotating members too. Like it's a very interesting system how their band's structured, and I feel like there's still a lot of unknowns about how it all works.
It's really hard because when Brandon was saying like I don't know who composes it, like they don't really tell you. It just kind of always says Falcom JDK, and so like
there's no credits to individuals.
You can find out. I've since
I'm sure.
Like if you look, you don't have to look that hard. You can find out, but they're not put to the forefront. Like Yasunori Mitsuda or Nobuo Uematsu. Yeah, like they're not highlighted as individuals. They are highlighted as the team JDK.
Exactly.
And I don't know if anybody even like JDK stands for. I don't know if anybody at Falcom even knows. I heard somebody like suggesting rumors of what it might have meant when they made it, but it's just kind of stuck around. Nobody there has any idea what it stands for anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah. So that and their music is very good, and it rocks your butt. Whether you want it to be rocked or not, it will rock your entire butt. So, and that's been the case since the early days. They were one of the pioneers too of like CD Red Book audio in their games, like on the original East 1 and 2 on Turbo CD, right?
Yep.
Like the music in that was just like, this was the early
Next level.
mid-90s.
We were not prepared for that.
How is this possible, right?
I know.
Yeah, just very, 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 very good stuff.
But yeah, should we get into the future of Falcom a bit? Maybe now? Like we've kind of established how they have been perceived over the years, how we still think they're underrated. Like, I don't think they necessarily get their dues for all the great accomplishments they've done. And only recently, their games have been kind of catching more steam, at least out here in the West. And I do think also in other sectors, like I think, China has become a large consumer of Falcom games. And Japan too, I would say, have also been reappreciating them because they've been a constant there for so long. And I do think with some of the recent titles, especially with the Sky remake, it's been getting a bit more of a, not quite a renaissance, but like, I think there's been more eyes on it.
Yeah, it's really been rejuvenated. I think it's good to point out how China has kind of adopted the, Falcom games at large.
They have unique pop-up stores there all the time. Like they have quite a sizable fan base in China.
And the fact that companies are starting to directly reference Falcom for inspiration. Like Honkai Star Rail directly referencing Falcom Trails in particular as an influence on their combat system.
Yeah, and also the main director, he loves a lot of those characters too. Tio being, I think, his main profile for a long time on social media.
Yeah, so the developers in other countries even are starting to express that openly that Falcom is a big influence on them. So that's huge, and I think that that has the potential to boost their profile with the broader public and kind of get it out of this niche. Only the hipster gamers know about Falcom. It can be a little more popular. And I think part of that is going to be establishing new pillars, like we had started talking about with Xanadu coming back as a series. Tokyo Xanadu, when that came out, and when did that come out? It was
after Cold Steel.
Yeah. 2018, I don't know.
So it was a PS4 game, right?
It was.
PS4 originally.
And Vita.
Yeah, it's on, and
Vita, okay.
Switch. When Tokyo Xanadu, when I played Tokyo Xanadu, right in the middle of having played Trails, I don't actually know if I played East yet. I may have played Xanadu before I played any of the East games. My impression of it is not as favorable, I think, as a lot of hardcore Falcom fans that are oh my God, it's incredible. I thought it was okay. I thought it was fine. The story was interesting, but
it wasn't the main point of the game. I think the main point was to, have a modern setting, right?
Sure.
In a fantasy world, and then also incorporate the action combat. You kind of see a little bit in ease, but not quite to the extent. And then some social kind of stuff.
It felt like an attempt to merge elements of Trails with elements of East and create a hybrid of those two experiences.
And different from the original Xanadu.
Yeah, and I don't think that it fully succeeded in that, and that's probably why it then lay dormant for several more years before we're talking about Kyoto Xanadu. And Kyoto Xanadu looks like it is significantly changing the formula of from what Tokyo Xanadu did, right? We're talking side-scrolling action combat for most of the level that you get.
The callback from the original Xanadu.
Yeah. So
they're giving it more of an identity, its own identity.
Instead of just
this is a merge of these two. And look at all these references to Trails and Ease in the universe.
Right, which was cute, and that's like and that almost. I almost mean that as an insult. Like it was like it was cute. Like you could maybe just not do that and just. I mean, don't make that such an emphasis that you're drawing.
Like
so
that's
much
the reason to
attention
play it.
That it's like this is East meets Trails. It's like
because I feel like they have like such a limited budget for their games, and so if they're trying to bring the best from Trails and the best from Ease, they're going to have to find some way to budget cut. And so like you get these kind of like, it's an okay Ease style battle system. It's not really like as fluid. And then it's not as fleshed out as Trails. So you get like just kind of it's fine.
Somewhat mediocre product, right?
Yeah, it's like a 7 out of 10. Here.
Honestly, the thing that they took from Trails,
if you look at it,
it's the stuff that I care for the least. It was during the peak Cold Steel.
Oh,
era. So they took the school setting and
that's why it gets compared to Persona so much. Like a lot of people say this is like Persona with action.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, well, yeah, it's like Trails, which was like Persona.
At that time. Yeah.
Right. So it's like the two things from Trails that I care for the least, they made focal points of the game. School setting, I could live without. It's fine.
And social links and all that.
And social links, give me actual character relationships, not just romantic, but like character relationships that are baked into the story and that matter, right? That matter, because a social link, by its very definition, it can't really matter to the story,
to the integral plot,
to the integral plot, because not everybody's going to see it, right? So anyway, I don't want to get into that, but yeah. So I'm coming down kind of harder on Tokyo Xanadu than I even thought that I would when we were planning this episode. But just like it's good. But it didn't shock me that it then went to sleep as a series again for several years.
And then they had to revamp Kyoto Xanadu into something a little bit different to hopefully catch on, which I think we're all still a little afraid how it is going to catch on and whether or not it will or not.
Because like honestly, I think it looks cool. I like the side-scrolling aspect of it. I think we don't see a lot of games that do that. Yeah, I think it looks like it's something creative and interesting. It kind of harkens back to Xanadu in general. But it's just, I don't know about you guys, but it doesn't feel like since the Nintendo Direct drop of the trailer, we haven't really seen or heard anything from a US perspective. I know like Japan is like, they're planning for the release in July.
They're gearing up 2 months.
Yeah, they've had, I think, showcases like in Japanese.
In Japanese, yeah.
Like not just like online, but like in person. You can kind of test out a demo, that kind of thing.
But they're not really like
we've had nothing
pushing it in the US, which is
it was so weird spending all that Nintendo Direct money to have it showcased in a Nintendo America Direct in English.
My assumption is that they had some kind of a deal almost ready to go, and then something
fell through
after the Direct, and they've had to scramble and try to renegotiate something or switch partners, or maybe they decided to switch it to in-house and just use crappy AI translations or something. Like there are a lot of different possibilities. I mean, obviously
let's hope for the best. But I think it's not looking so great, especially if they want to establish this as a third pillar. This
is going to be a thing where like how they release this game is going to make or break it, unfortunately.
I'll be honest, and this sounds a little harsh, but like I would rather them make that terrible mistake with this game than with Trails or with East. If they need to make
sacrifice one
and learn the lesson that like, hey, this isn't going to be as popular as it could be because you've taken the trash approach of lazily having an artificial intelligence edit and translate this game.
Maybe we shouldn't say necessarily they're doing the AI approach before we know anything.
We don't know.
But we have some fears here.
We have fears, and they're not unfounded. The president of Falcom was glowingly praising AI for localization a couple years ago.
Opportunities.
Opportunities that existed with that. So it's not unfounded, and hopefully things have changed, and they don't view it that way anymore.
Because he does like to talk.
He does say a lot of stuff that doesn't, that
actually happen.
Doesn't actually happen. I think he just gets excited. He gets excited. He's very human, right?
Yeah.
President Kondo.
He's like a word vomits everything.
He's just like, he gets excited and wants to share stuff, and then he does, and then it doesn't doesn't always pan out the way he's
No.
at the moment. I'm sure he's not lying. He's just like
he thinks he's things on his mind. He talks about.
Yeah,
Just
he
to
just
say
talks
it's
about it.
like he doesn't necessarily have a professional PR stance whenever he makes these interviews.
Right. And unfortunately, they're not as high profile as like Sean Murray was with
Yeah.
Hello Games and No Man's Sky, when he would just kind of
Say whatever.
blue moon it, moonshot in interviews, and then the game didn't have all that stuff. And
That and
people were
Fable
very
back in the
mad
day.
about it. Fable, yep. That stuff can really come back and bite companies when
Really
the
can.
heads of them overshare.
It's true.
Fortunately, with Falcom, I think the hardcore fans kind of know.
They
They're
do.
like, okay, we'll take it.
Yeah.
It's all, buddy. That's fine. You're having fun.
That's true. I feel like all like Falcom fans kind of understand Kondo at this point. They're all just like,
At this point, we've already been
cool story.
I don't say
Kondo.
quite burned, but we've seen it happen.
Yeah.
How it plays out.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, so talking about the future, assuming that Xanadu is a third pillar, and the 2D 3D hybrid action combat is kind of what sticks around. I think that's really cool, and I kind of if they are also talking about bringing back Dragon Slayer,
That could be a fourth pillar, or
Absolutely. Like
it's just a one-off.
They totally could sustain 4 pillars. Like it would
Yeah.
just mean that we would
with
get,
their growth.
Yeah, like we just wouldn't necessarily get a Trails game every year. It might be every couple of years, and they've already kind of slowed down.
The
on
extended,
these
we
series.
haven't. The gap between Beyond the Horizon 2 has been growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't even announced the sucker officially, so
Nope.
they could be a ways away.
Well, they said that they're still. Yeah, I think they just started development. I think they said like after Sky first chapter,
Right.
Yeah.
so could be a little bit.
It could be a little bit, and that's
But as long as it cooks and it cooks well, I'm okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of fans who are a little bit obnoxious online about how they feel not catered to because they've been waiting for so long. But honestly, it hasn't been that long. And I'd rather have them have a good, ending to this arc than a mediocre one.
Exactly. Let them cook.
Yeah.
At the end of the
Is
day.
it Miyamoto, the famous phrase, a delayed game is delayed for a short time, a bad game is bad forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
It's okay.
And it's not like we're
can
not
wait.
getting games from Falcom. Like, I wonder when the next Ease game will come because, they've done Ease 10 and Proud Nordics. When's 11 coming?
yeah.
We'll probably see that soon.
Next year, maybe? We'll get teasers.
Maybe.
I don't know if
think
we'll
next
do
year start-
simultaneous global release. I'm assuming not, but maybe the gap is lessening.
Yeah. I feel like Ease, we still get a gap, but it's getting smaller.
Yeah. As they add more, because I've noticed over the years, they've been adding more text to these games, which I'm here for personally.
I love it. Yeah, I like the
10 was great.
the
I love
storytelling
10.
they do. Yeah.
10 had a great story. I loved
Yeah, as long as they give it to a
interactions.
competent publisher over here, I'm
Yeah.
all for it.
Same.
Yeah,
But for
I would
Dragon
like to
Slayer,
see them-
do you guys think that will be like turn-based pillar potentially?
I think it'll still be within the vein of turn-based.
Yeah, like a traditional turn-based.
my like moon, not my like pie in the sky, not pie in the sky. I don't want it to sound like this is what I necessarily want because I don't. The Dragon Slayer is kind
One
of
theory,
amorphous.
let's say. One theory.
One theory. It's amorphous as a series. I don't know what it's about. It's slaying a dragon, I guess. I don't know, getting a magical sword and killing a dragon. So it's not like the history of it is not the deepest plots or whatever. But it could be that Dragon Slayer comes back and replaces Trails as the long-running turn-based story-centric.
Maybe make like a saga or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Like maybe that's what they do when Trails is done. Like and they get it started while Trails is still going, so there's some overlap and can build the audience slowly while Trails is still like in the zeitgeist and people are still amped up about Falcom games, right?
Yeah.
That's one possibility. Or it could be its own completely separate series that, when Trails does end, they introduce a new pillar that takes Trails' place. Who knows?
Just make Dragon
they'll do
Slayer
a
like
spin-off
pure hard
in-
sci-fi.
Like 1,000 years. Yeah, they could go 1,000 years out. It'll be all sci-fi.
I would love to see like a straight up like hard sci-fi
Oh, that'd be cool because they have been
Falcom
introducing elements for sure. That are
Yeah, Trails
sci-fi.
has like a little, like, has a futuristic sci-fi aspect to it, but it's not as expensive. I would love them to do just like a straight up game that takes place like that. So because I think it'd be
space.
really in space.
I like it.
That would be nice.
Let's do it.
That'd be awesome.
Please, please.
But I think, with their expansion, there's a lot of possibilities of a lot of like shorter series that just take the course of a few games. And I wouldn't mind that, honestly. Like, even though I love Trails,
Yeah.
I don't, it's very ambitious to do, a 14 plus franchise and have that last as long as it really has been or has.
Yeah.
And realistically, how many more of these long running series do I have in me? Just
Right.
from a pure biological life standpoint.
That is true.
It's true.
And the developers too, like they only have so many years to be developing games.
Right. So if a new 20 plus year series comes out right now, today, by the time it's done, I will be in my 60s. Could I maybe squeeze one more in? Maybe. I don't know.
It'd have to come out right now.
Family history, 80s not unachievable for me. Not unachievable. It could happen. But it might not. So I might kick the bucket in the middle of the sequel to the sequel to Trails. And that's a bummer. I want to see it. I want to see it all the way through.
Yeah.
I want to see a conclusion to the story. So if they wanted to do some shorter series or even standalone games, even just straight up standalone games,
true.
like this is its own thing.
I wouldn't mind
Because
that.
they've done standalone games before.
Sure. Yeah. They could do it.
And
They
they've
did
also dabbled
Computer
like
the
in
Golf,
platformers and stuff like that. Like not just RPGs.
Computer the Golf. Computer
Sorry,
the Golf. For those who don't know.
While you were banished earlier
was
in the
banished.
episode, Dala found one of their early games called Computer the Golf.
That's you guys have to stream that. Tell me how it is.
Computer.
Is it
I
a
don't
golf
know.
RPG game or is it just golf?
I mean, it's old enough that game didn't come out on a floppy. It did the thing that Europeans and Japan did, but they had it on cassette tapes.
Is it?
We had it here too, but it was like not as
Interesting.
Not
popular.
as big. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
That's funny.
I looked it up for a second.
Of
Computer
the Golf.
the Golf.
The golf.
Guys, let me know anyone who's played this game. I need to know.
Yeah, shout out in the
Not
comments
too.
if you are a fan of Computer the Golf. Anyway. Any final thoughts on Falcom and their future and what we are hoping for?
Honestly, I think the future is bright. I think they've gained a lot of momentum, especially in recent years. Their financial reports of like 1,000 revenue or something amazing. I hope they keep up the momentum. They keep producing great games that will get a good localization in a timely fashion over here.
Yep.
Otherwise, I think they're going to, slowly move their way from underrated to greatly appreciated, like what they deserve.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say overrated.
No, I'll never be overrated.
They completely flip. They're just like, they flood the zone with so much crap. Like, I'm so
not-
over Falcom.
I'm not speaking that into
Can you
existence.
imagine them
So
flooding?
overrated. I do think that, worldwide releases, I think, are more achievable now just because
Than
they've
ever.
seen how much money they make when they put out a game over here. That's
Yeah.
good. Like they like you said, like 10x'd their annual their normal annual revenue because of the Western market. 10x, guys. Like
It's
that's
huge. You don't
That's
see that even in the
huge.
stock market that often.
That first
Yeah.
chapter remake played a huge role in learning that.
massive.
Like
And
the
so
follow up won't be probably quite as massive because, as series goes
Yeah.
on, it dwindles a little bit. But, if they establish more pillars, have more new franchises, new standalones, I think it's achievable,
There's
Yeah.
there's also the possibility though that the sales of second chapter will be lower than first.
Yeah.
Just that's how it
That's
goes.
just how it works.
Yeah.
But the release of second chapter might boost the sales of first
Spur.
chapter.
That's true.
So
True.
you know what I mean? So it's always
'Cause-
going to be less, but they might all go up together. So
I could definitely see that happening because I think once people say, "Oh my God, the second chapter is amazing. You have to play first chapter, guys." I
go
can see it
get
happening.
and they'll put it
Go
on
play it.
sale like they've been doing.
Yeah.
And
Exactly. And
I
it's
think
more,
gonna
digestible.
Yeah, maybe
knowing
make
that
a
it's only
double pack.
one game beforehand.
Double pack would be
Double
very
pack.
Smart.
Ooh, that would be a
pack
smart
Double
move.
pack.
Huge. That would be huge.
If you guys are
And-
listening,
Now, yeah, I didn't think about that, but that they're gonna do that. Of course,
Our
they
triple pack. Come on, Sky the
gung
Third.
ho,
comes out.
gung ho. If you
Third.
guys are listening,
Gung ho! If you do that thing that Xseed did, where with Trails in the Sky, they put out a box that was made to hold both 1 and 2, but they released it with 1.
For
it was
Cold
you
Steel
could do a
1 and 2, yeah.
box that holds 1, 2, and 3, and just like put that box out with 2 or something. Or I
that
guess you
reminds
could
me of
put
That
it
would
with
be
3,
nice.
that reminds me of what they used to do with anime DVDs.
Yeah,
You'd buy the first
you'd buy
DVD,
the
but it would
first
come with the
volume
box.
with the box, and it would have like a foam stuff in there
Yeah.
to like space it out, and then you would fill it up. Oh
Yeah.
man, I had completely forgotten that was a thing. Yeah,
Yep,
I had so
I have-
many of those.
Same.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun.
That's
Yeah.
nostalgic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're
they're
going to
looking
see
good.
some good stuff.
Looking
I know
good.
they've always been, underrated, but I feel like we're in a kind of a renaissance for Falcom, and
We are.
A
We
lot
have
more-
so much merch now. Like we have so many
Yeah.
official stores that carry Falcom merch. We could easily get here. We don't have to just be in Japan to get it. Kotobukiya and other companies are putting Trails figures left and right now. We have the official TCG is in English.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Crazy.
and it's
What's
and the
happening.
more like other companies kind of move away from traditional styled JRPGs, I think people are going to slowly appreciate more and more companies like Falcom that do kind of still bring
Have-
that traditional expectation there.
Yeah, but also creative,
But also
new
creative,
takes
yes.
on it.
Yeah.
But I think really the consistent output is how they really
Yeah.
shine,
Yeah,
Exactly.
which we didn't
No
really,
other
I think,
company.
praise as much as maybe we should have this episode.
Yeah,
but
that's a good point. That was a big oversight. I'm glad we can at least stick it in here at the end for those of you who stuck around. They're so consistent.
Yeah.
So
You know,
consistent.
They're putting out
At least one
if you'll
game
Have,
every year.
Even if you're
Pro-
seeing
more,
a
really.
gap between like East releases, right? Like you don't get an East game every year or two, but you are still getting a Falcom game from this small
Exactly.
agile team
Yeah.
every year.
yeah. And a lot of
it's crazy.
remasters are in the works too for those who missed out. The early releases, they get to experience them. We've been seeing a lot of those.
And
lately,
we've talked
which has
about it
been great.
before, is that like, it's just their smart style of development. They use, an easy,
Their
they have
assets.
like their new engine that they use is very easy and systematic to use. They have all their assets that they reuse for games. It just ends up being a lot cheaper and easy to get these games out quickly. So,
And they're
they just have a
cohesive.
business. Yeah. It's a smart business model, smart development style model. That I think it's just going to play to their strengths as you start to see other companies struggle more with like trying to make AAA games and things and trying to get those
Pushing
games
the bar
out.
every time.
Massive
Yeah.
budgets, yeah.
Exactly. Well, Falcom is just very, consistent.
Yeah. I think their fan base is only just going to, I think, continue to grow from here.
Yeah. And I'm here to see it.
Me too.
I can't wait.
Me too.
I'm over here to see it.
Yeah.
You
I'm
guys
over
are
there
here to
too.
see it. Oh, okay. Good to see you.
Yeah.
But
Thanks
anyways,
for-
here's
for
to
checking us
a
out.
great, a great appreciation for how Falcom. We'd love to hear what your guys' favorite things about Falcom are. If you are an appreciator, or if there's anything that you guys are interested in checking out, if you haven't played a Falcom game before. But I really think the future is bright. We're going to see, with hopefully Kyoto Xanadu will be great, despite our misgivings or potential misgivings. And Trails in Sky second chapter out later this year will be amazing. We already know it's going to be amazing
know
because
it.
it's an amazing
Yeah.
game.
No, yeah, no.
But it's going to be even more amazing, I think, once it's released. And hopefully news of their next projects.
Amen, sister.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
We're all ready.
Thanks everybody for joining us,
Yeah.
for watching, for listening, however you consume the JRPG Pursuit. We appreciate you so much. Thanks especially to our members for rocking and for helping us actually produce the show, and to our Pursuer Plus members for just all that extra support. We really, really appreciate what you do. Be sure to look forward to our spoiler cast. We will be spoiler casting Chrono Trigger in the not too distant
Yep.
future. We will have announcements on YouTube and social media when that's going to launch. So keep an eye
In the
out.
next couple of months.
Yeah.
Next couple of
Should be
months.
very soon.
And
be ready.
If you missed our live show that we did on Monday, check out the VOD.
Yeah.
I'm sure
We're
it's
gonna
going
do
to
this monthly. So if you missed last one, we'll do it in a couple Mondays from now.
Yes.
Exactly. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah. But the live shows are always fun. It's
Yeah.
great interacting with you guys in the comments and
Yeah.
whatnot. So come hang out and chat with us. That's it, and that's all.
Yeah.
Thanks
That's
again,
all,
everybody.
folks.
And we will
Thank
catch you next time.
Take care, everyone.